Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the Booktube Real Talk tag. I was tagged by Ariel from She Wants the Diction. This tag was created by Books with Alyssa J, and I will link to both of their videos below. Question number 1 is, what's something nobody told you about Booktube before you started your channel? And I think the thing that I maybe didn't focus enough on was that audio is so much more important than almost anything else. When I started my channel, I was using a webcam, and the audio, because the microphone is obviously so close to the laptop itself, it catches all of that background noise, and the audio was just terrible. And I should have started using my phone because the audio is just so much better on a phone. I think it would have been interesting to know that beforehand. Question number 2 is, what is your opinion on typical Booktube videos like wrap-ups, TBRs, and hauls? I really enjoy videos in which people talk about a lot of material at once. For me, I think seeing someone talk about multiple books in one video, whether it's because they bought them, they plan to read them, or they did read them, you get more of a sense of where someone's taste is, and also therefore, by comparison, if someone has taste that overlaps with yours or specifically doesn't overlap with yours, you can get a sense of how the other books would relate back to that better than if they're talking about one book in isolation. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy getting to see how someone's perspective on different books compares to each other. And I think the argument is that with hauls, because people haven't read them yet, they aren't necessarily talking about it. But I think the ways in which people select their books is interesting, because you get a sense of why people are looking at what they're looking at. Question number 3 is, what is an assumption you had about Booktube before you joined, and was it proven to be correct or no? When I first found Booktube, I saw basically 3 different things, one of which was, I think, what everybody sees first, which are the big YA channels, which are the ones with the most followers. I also, around the same time, discovered a few really small channels that I think weren't, at the time anyway, even defining themselves as Booktube channels. They were basically an online book club. It was funny because those channels were mostly retirees, and the big YA ones were mostly people under 25. So I think my original impression was that there were virtually no middle-aged people. There was nobody between like 25 and 60, which of course isn't true. And I think there are even more people around, but it wasn't true even 5 years ago. So that's been interesting, finding other people, and I think a lot of that is just learning to search a little bit better and digging through the search fields a little bit more. Question number 4 is, what is something you've done that has actually helped you grow your audience? And that ties back into question number 1, which is, I switched from using the webcam to using my phone, and it improved the audio. That was basically what pushed me over 100 subscribers. Genuinely, I think that's the one thing that I can pinpoint that changed the fact that people were willing to subscribe. Question number 5 is, what is a common mistake you see new booktubers making, or one that you made? And that is one that I see new booktubers making and that I made. Using a webcam or an older camera, because there's this perception that that's somehow better than using a phone, is just not the case in general. The phone will almost always have better audio because that's what it's designed for. Number 6 is, what are your thoughts on working with publishers and sponsorships? Good for people who do them. I mean, my channel is obviously too small and probably the wrong niche for any of that, so it's not something that particularly impacts me, but I don't see any problem with it. I know some people say they don't trust people who are doing sponsored videos, but a lot of the sponsored videos I see are, and I mean, maybe this speaks to the channels that I'm watching versus other ones, but a lot of them are sponsored by like online education companies or glasses companies or things, and not actually marketing for a particular book. And I think even the 1 or 2 that I've seen that have been ads for the book, it's usually fairly obvious that it's an ad. So, I mean, I don't care. If it looks like an ad, you should know that it's an ad, and if that confuses you or you don't trust people because you can't tell the difference, I think that's somebody else's problem. But yeah, I mean, if somebody's able to make money out of it, it doesn't do anything to me. I mean, that said, most of the channels that I watch aren't being sponsored, so. Question number 7 is, do you think Booktube is dying? And I would say no, because there are so many more channels that I track the newbie tag every week, and there are constantly new channels popping up, and doing new things and doing interesting things. I think a lot of the people who think that BookTube is dying haven't mixed up their subscription feeds in a long time, because I think there are a lot of kind of original booktubers, and I think maybe a lot of the bigger ones, although most of those I don't follow anymore, but from what I've seen, a lot of people who maybe started a channel when they were quite young or in a particular stage of their life just aren't there anymore. So someone who was very interested in a particular genre and built their brand on that maybe isn't as interested in that and will be stuck because they feel like they can't get out of that. So I think maybe there's a death of creativity in a situation like that, but I think BookTube as a whole is certainly not just those channels. So if you think that BookTube is dying, I think it just means you need to mix up your subscription list. And question number 8 is tag some people. I was recently tagged in a different tag, the Honest Booktuber tag, by Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, so I'm going to tag him. I have no idea if he's done this or not, but just because the tags kind of remind me of each other. And I guess I'll flip the tagging on the other two as well. And as always, if you have not been tagged but you would like to be tagged, please consider yourself tagged. That's it for now. Ciao.